Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Abby Stamp. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Executive Director of Measure 110, and I will be assisting today with facilitating for the meeting today. So the Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email by emailing oha.measure110@oh at no fault of their own was not included in the contemplation of the scores and the reviewers until today. So we could move forward and discuss the applications that were reviewed for your consideration and approval. And see what that is and identify what the additional funds available are. I don't even know what the amount is that this fourth applicant is asking for, so it's a little bizarre. But I wanted to start by asking Onisha, Dharma, and Melinda your thoughts about this. And I'm sorry to just throw this on you. This is, developing this morning. And see if you want to continue this discussion about Hood River County or not. I'm going to start there and see.
I just want to weigh in really quickly that we move forward. We already know that in addition to previous ways we reviewed the proposals, we also have an appeal process that's new, and we don't even really have all the variables together to know how long that appeal process could prolong getting the funding out. So I say move forward.
I agree. I think that I'd be happy to review that application if and get that finished today if it would help to streamline the process and getting that evaluated so that we could maybe table the vote after we discuss it today so it's ready to go. And then maybe have time to review that before by the next review panel. And we can vote next week.
I pretty much agree with what they're saying.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So we'll proceed. That's great. And just to, Dharma, respond to your comments, we have plenty of reviewers to do the work. What we need to do is just make sure we get that information to the reviewers to be able to do that in a timely manner. And again, I don't know how much the application is for, which service areas or any of that. So it would be something we would want to consider as soon as practicable. The review panel meets again tomorrow. I think it's from 10 to noon to continue the conversation about the other 4 counties that are complete, which include Harney, Gillum, manner, and again, Crook, I don't know are the other 4 counties that have completed, which service areas or any of that. Okay. So thank you for that. We'll go ahead and move forward. Now we can do the call for conflict. Carly, thanks. All right. And Carly, you've got that black, I know you can't control it, but the window, the black windows that pop up and block your text. Anyway, I will read this as much as I can. There we go. That's better. Thank you. So Oversight and Accountability Council members with an actual conflict of interest cannot participate in discussions on the matter that presents the conflict. In order to best protect members, we will be calling for conflicts before a matter on the agenda is discussed if the matter could present a conflict for an OAC member. And you'll see above the list of the 3 providers we'll be discussing today, which are Boulder Care Provider Group, Eastern Oregon for Independent Living, and One Community Health. On the agenda today is a proposal regarding funding decisions for current Measure 110 for applicants. The OAC members may have a potential or an actual conflict of interest regarding this matter. If you announce a potential conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict, but you can participate in the discussion and vote. And if you announce an actual conflict of interest, you must announce the nature of the conflict and refrain from participating in the discussion. And please turn your camera off. Lastly, if there are not enough members to vote on the proposal, members with actual conflicts of interest will be asked to vote in roll call order until a majority of votes for or against is reached. Okay, any conflicts or any concerns before we move forward? Right, hearing none. Next slide, thank you. So Hood River County is who is on deck for today. for those of you who were at the panel review discussion yesterday, you remember the long slide deck we got through together. And what I wanted to uplift for today is just a high level overview of Hood River County and where it is in the state. You can see it highlighted in red there on the map of the state. And then we'll look at the applicants and what was recommended for you all to consider for funding from the review panel. Next slide. All right, so what you'll see here along the left-hand column is Boulder Care, Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, and One Community Health for the 3 applicants. And across the row, you'll see the 6 service areas: screening, assessment, substance use disorder treatment, peer support, housing, and harm reduction, in addition to program cost. So program cost is any administrative or other functional costs that the applicant indicated would be required for them to provide these services. And you'll note at the bottom there that the program costs on average are less than 2% of the overall statewide ask. So One Community Health requested screening and assessment, substance use disorder, peer support, housing, and harm reduction all across the bottom there, all 6 service areas. Eastern Oregon wanted housing and harm reduction services to be delivered through them. And then Boulder Care applied for substance use disorder treatment, peer support, and harm reduction. And I totaled everything across the bottom. So you'll see each service area and what the potential award could be. And as a reminder, on the bottom left in that yellow shape, I'm not even sure what that shape is called, is $4,303,358.23 is the formula. The total that was recommended for funding by the review panel is just under $3.3 million, or $3,293,648.30, leaving just over $1 million available for lack of a better term, I'll say other uses. And so that is in that orangish shape on the right is the surplus. So these were the recommendations from the review panel from yesterday. And I wanted to first ask, let's see, Zeb and Nicole and a few other people. I'm looking at my attendance list here, were present yesterday at the review panel. And I wanted to see if anybody has any comments or questions before you all have a conversation about this, and then whether or not there would be a motion to move forward for vote to fund.
I guess I can start. I reviewed the Boulder Care application. I went with approval for that. I mean, I think we're all familiar with the Boulder Care group. This county, they're not asking for a lot. And it does fill some gaps that the other ones can't provide potentially. So I can speak on the Boulder Care aspect. But I mean, for me, they all seemed reasonable request, provided the information that was asked for. I do have concerns ongoing overall, just for the state in terms of cultural specific services being met. But overall, I voted to pass these 3 programs. Thank you.
Melinda.
Hi, so I just was wondering, Boulder Care is the one that does only telehealth, correct? Or do they have an office somewhere where people can come into?
I think they have an office somewhere, but it's yeah, they operate out of an office that's not in this particular county.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe they have an office located in Portland, but it is telehealth services only. for clients.
One more question. So are these peers providing the telehealth services?
Zeb, do you recall any specifics from your review of that application?
I don't have my papers pulled up at this moment, but I believe they said the SUD part is responsible for the prescriptions. And Nicole, and you guys can fill in if you guys know, but and then the peer support plays a heavy role in the execution and of the actual like counseling aspects of the role. But they only asked for $10,000 basically for the peer support. They asked for 153 in the SUD part, but I know that they get provided the online telehealth support. So I don't have any more details than that.
So is there more like clinicians than peer supports that are providing that telehealth? People with like counseling degrees or something, or RNs or something? I'm
So
trying to.
apparently, I mean, Boulder Cares approved, from the best of my knowledge, to provide services in every CCO in Oregon. I could be wrong on that, but I know they must be for a lot because they're billing Medicaid. So they have to have the professionals and the credentials in order to be certified to be able to do that.
I'm happy to read what they put in their budget. And Sabrina, please feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt me if I'm sorry, I want to answer Melinda's question, but please jump in if your thing is timely. For peer support, Melinda, that you inquired about first, it reads, spend reflects clinical care staffing expenses associated with offering low barrier telemedicine-based SUD treatment via peer support services. And then the narrative for this SUD treatment specifically is projected spend reflects clinical care staffing expensive associated with offering low barrier telemedicine-based SUD treatment, including diagnosis, prescriptions, and medication-assisted treatment for OUD and AUD and care coordination.
Okay.
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Now, Sabrina, thank you for your patience.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify. So the SUD services offered by Boulder Care is they're taking the 1,053 whatever dollars that they're requesting for the SUD services and dividing that by 4 years because that's the length of the grant. Is that to have staff readily available to treat the people, or is there going to be some kind of wait time, or is that because it's kind of different because it's not a bricks and mortar, it's a telehealth. So for that money, it'll be utilized just for people to answer calls for Hood River County.
That is my understanding, and you are correct. It is for a 4-year period. The application indicates in year 1, they estimate serving 16 individuals. Year 2 is 23, year 3 is 26, year 4 is 28. Same numbers are true for the peer support financial request over a 4-year period at just shy of $10,000.
Thank you. And if
That's
I did
amazing.
sorry.
No, I was just saying that's amazing.
And as we move together through the rest of the 35 counties, I want to remind folks that you can watch for the review panel meetings and tune into them yourself so you can watch all of the deliberation of the reviewers who went through all of these applications. And it's of course recorded and posted so you can watch it at any time. And I did want to make sure folks had access to the orientation video I made, which tried to get the review panel focused really on this, looking at the numbers, and get us through a pretty complex process, and ensure that we're able to move these applications forward for your consideration before the end of January. Any other discussion or questions? Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Rob.
got one last thing. I will say this in terms of the application, on question number 8, they didn't answer. And that was like, how will you provide trauma-informed services, culturally linguistic services, the whole gamut? They didn't answer that question on there, but the way the scoring works, it still gives them they still qualify and scored high enough to be approved.
Sabrina?
I just wanted to clarify, I understood what Zeb said, that even though they didn't answer the question, they still got a score as if they did answer it.
No, they got a 0 on that particular one, but with all the other questions that are asked, they can score a 0 there and still meet the requirements. And then one more thing, I mean, I just reviewed Boulder Care for Hood River. It was brought up from another reviewer that they reviewed a couple of the applications and they were the same application. They just changed it for each county. But that's not a definitive statement because I don't know. I just reviewed the one.
That would be correct. I reviewed multiple Boulder Care applications and they also did not answer question number 8 in the other counties. But yes, it appears they copy pasted the application and just changed the county name.
That would be concerning about the projection on numbers of folks served, I would think.
Well, I'm curious if that's really problematic if uh their mission is the same and the numbers that they're asking for are really small. Like, and this is a rural area.
I guess I would just feel that like if they're gonna apply for 3 counties, that they would put in specificity to each county's application at least, but I'm not sure. That yeah, I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's valid. But if they still scored high enough, then maybe that's a technicality thing that somebody can talk to them about. Or
Ron?
Yeah, I was going to say that Boulder Care through telehealth provides a pretty important service in terms of accessibility. That it's immediate, it's electronic. Folks can do it from a laptop or a cell phone, and just on the surface, it's the way that they go about providing services, I think, is needed and important, and so I support their proposal.
Hunter?
Yeah, so I'm looking at and that's good information. My question is, or my statement is a little different now that we've had this discussion. I'm looking at the amount for peer support, which doesn't look like even FTE, especially if you look at it over 4 years, right? Like $10,000 over 4 years I mean, so in my head, I was thinking, okay, maybe that's like, so for better tech for already established peers there, and that would be great as well, right? But now that I hear that they've got multiple applications over different counties, I'm wondering if the possibility is they're going to use those different lumps to make that one FTE. They're going to hire one dedicated peer support for all counties. I'd like to know more about that. Not right now. I don't think it would make me want to know more before I vote and all those things. But I think this is telling me that that's a good area to where either members of the OAC or whoever else who are, already peer support in either those counties or others, if need be, could offer technical support on what resources are available. Because if they have one peer working in all of those counties, which I don't know is the case, but I think this may be an opportunity for members of the council with lived experience and maybe even possibly have working in those areas before or with resources and networks in those areas could help.
Thank you, Hunter. Dharma.
I think just looking at what's the content of the application itself, that I would just say that I think I'd be careful about not trying to draw on lived experience with the agency or the area. That's not stuff that's included in the application. But I think that the application itself, like for me, in rural Oregon, we need place-based and specific treatment and services. And so telehealth, like, while like it's important and an option for folks here too, I think that it feels like a disconnect and like a disservice to rural counties to not provide services that are specific to them, or at least to even tailor the application, right? It feels like a low amount for 4 years, and then it also just feels like it's kind of just like an add-on, right? Like there to have one person across 4 counties doesn't feel like it's specific to the needs of that community. It doesn't feel like it could fill that gap for that community. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it.
So I just want to point out that we don't really know all the details of why they did their budget a certain way. Like having done budgets before, if I already have the peer mentors or coming being paid from another grant, but I need these other services for this, then I'm not going to double dip. So it could possibly be that they're asking for that funding from a different grant. But unless we are actually reading through the proposal, we won't know. But overall, I think it's a really good, I mean, we need it.
Sam?
Thanks. I think at least being part of the review panel, my only thought was in our smaller communities, um, whether or not there's some benefit to people having choice in terms of where they receive services and, just appreciating smaller communities, sometimes everybody really does know everybody. And whether or not this gives an opportunity for people to receive service in a more personal way if they choose to do that. So that was my only other thought about having the Boulder Care group as part of it, just appreciating feedback over time from the council, but also thinking about, how do people get to, if they have a bad experience or feel like they know everyone or everyone knows them, how do they get help then within the county and whether or not this could be a way for that to happen?
Other thoughts or comments about the remainder of Hood River County applications?
I had a question about Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living. Just curious what's written in their harm reduction budget because it's so much higher than any of the other budgets for harm reduction. What kind of services are they planning to provide?
I will happily pull up theirs. Okay. Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, harm reduction, includes the budget narrative is 0.05 FTE of their chief executive officer to ensure grant compliance and contract management. 1.0 FTE assistant director of harm reduction to provide oversight, assistance, and staffing support. 2 FTE harm reduction specialists to provide weekly harm reduction services during drop-in services and during mobile outreach. And also training for community health workers and wrong line item, apologies. Oh no, yes, it is. Community health worker certification for their harm reduction specialists and certified recovery mentor certification, harm reduction supplies, syringe exchange, condoms, lube, testing, wound care, printed resources, Narcan, office supplies and drop-in services supplies. And that is the total narrative for harm reduction for that applicant.
Hey,
Any other questions or comments? And I'm going to give awesome. Thanks, Keisha. Question, comment.
Sorry. Should we be paying for community health worker training? One, and I just realized that is um pretty large budget for harm reduction and housing.
So the line item for training is for community health worker certification is $2,600 a year per year over 4 years and $700 for the certified recovery mentor. And I can look at the housing narrative. Also includes administration to ensure compliance and grant contract management. 1 FTE housing navigator to provide housing navigation, 0.5 behavioral health specialist to provide screening, assessment, and ongoing therapeutic support. And also ongoing training for the housing recovery, certified recovery mentors and community health workers. And then operational expenses and supplies, including rent vouchers and 365 nights of shelter. Ron?
Yes, I just wanted to go back and appreciate the work of the reviewers who reviewed the applications and then met with the review panel and made their recommendations. And I also want to appreciate the review panel for making these recommendations and bringing them to the council. I appreciate the amount of work that went into the actual evaluations of each application and the work of the review panel to consider very carefully the proposed funding for these organizations and then bring those recommendations here to us. And I just want to appreciate and acknowledge the great work that the reviewers, both individually reviewing applications and the review panel. And I think it's a wonderful thing that they did so much work and that we are here to and I'd like to take this opportunity to say for me that the quality of their work and the extent of their work shouldn't be I just want to support them in the work that they're doing is what I want to say and support the recommendations. And because once it gets here, it's gone through a process and I just want to appreciate that.
Thanks, Ron. As a reviewer, I appreciate that. So I want to leave this to see if there is a motion on the table. Dharma, I see your note in the chat. I want to contextualize whatever motion comes next. That there are many more review panels to happen, many more OAC voting to happen, and to remind folks that my goal, it's good to see you all, that's better, is to have as many OAC votes as possible before we have massive turnover in this group on January 31st. So I will stay in communication about whatever happens with this fourth applicant. Of course, I wanted to just be super transparent about the challenges we encountered this morning. And I would like to hear if anybody has a motion about moving forward with these three applicants or otherwise, because this is your meeting and time to decide how you want to move forward.
I'll make a motion to move forward with these three applicants.
I'll second.
I guess I do just have concerns about, the optics of it. If it's an issue of equity for this applicant that didn't get a chance to be reviewed, and just a matter of fairness, especially in rural counties, where we're talking about a matter of choice. There's less folks that applied. I think it could make a difference, and I think that we ought to pause on this one. But I understand if folks urgency would tell them to do otherwise.
Yeah, happy to have a discussion about the most thoughtful way that you all would like to proceed. Sabrina?
Yeah, I agree with Dharma. I understand the urgency to get the money out the door and to the people, but I also kind of feel awkward, to say the least, to vote on something without all of the pieces there to consider. And even though we have a large amount left over, we're not sure who we're going to fund at this point or what that's going to look like with the new application, because we don't know the amount, right, that they're requesting. And we might decide we want to fund all of them. And for an example, not one of the other organizations that are already up for vote right now. So I kind of feel awkward to vote.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that there is alignment that so far this is looking pretty good for Hood River County, although there is still a lot we don't know. So that does bode well for being able to have a full burn, and also perhaps pausing before moving forward. So let's see what Zeb has to share. Maybe he'll.
Yeah, Abby, I have a question. I was hoping you can answer. Let's say that we vote to approve these three providers for this county, for this burn. And then the other one gets reviewed, and then it comes back in front of us and we say yes, and it's added as a fourth provider. Like, no matter what, these organizations still have to undergo like a negotiation process to finalize their budgets, right? It's not like if we approve these three, that's setting the budget, and then the other one would be left out. That one would be included, right? And all the negotiations for that county.
I mean, that's my understanding, but this, again, this is uncharted territory. We didn't realize this was going to be happening. I would lean on Shannon and her perspective on, the cadence of the process moving forward. However, I do think no matter where we move forward today, I think this was a really good practice to walk through the applications as a council together, and sort of identify your questions and comments, and really see that Hood River's got some really good options, even if we bring this all back all over again. So I don't know if there's a way to move forward with like a conditional motion, or, that's probably not the way to go, but Shannon just turned her camera on and Onisha is hands up. Let's go with Onisha, and then Shannon maybe give us some context. Thank you. Nisha.
Yeah, just really quickly that we're trusting the evaluators of these proposals to like look for those inconsistencies, and maybe there is an answer, and maybe getting these emailed out to us so that we can speed forward the process a little bit, because yeah.
Shannon, go ahead.
So sorry, I had to hop over to another meeting. So did I hear that there's that there was an applicant that met the minimum scoring that wasn't, okay.
No, when an applicant was watching our panel review live stream yesterday and was concerned that their materials weren't included and inquired about what happened, and they were missed in the procurement, like consolidating of applications and sending to the Measure 110 team timeline. So we have three applicants. We have a full burn. We have approval from the review panel, but a new surprise, if possible vision. I don't know if they met minimum criteria or not. The Office of Contract and Procurement is looking at that right now.
Yeah, so I mean, one suggestion I think is to sort of do what you said, Abby. I mean, I think that for one, like there's a motion on the table that that the OAC needs to vote on. I think that voting on that does not preclude consideration of this applicant, and I think there can be direction from the OAC, right, that you would expect OHA in the funding recommendations to come back and sort of revisit this other applicant. But you're right, like there's still, nobody signed a grant agreement. No, based on the OAC voting here, this other applicant's not gonna get a notice of denial because you voted on these other three applicants.
And almost kind of looking at the other side of the coin, what I hear you saying is also voting that this looks fine, knowing that it could change is also okay. Just like there's no heartache or no heartburn about what's on the table right now.
Yep.
Okay.
And also, am I correct in there's extra money, like there's more than, it's not going to take money away from anybody else that was already approved?
So that is correct. The three applications did not total the county's total formula amount, which again is just a guideline, not a hard and fast dollar amount. There's about $1 million remaining after considering the three applications you just discussed. We don't know what the other applicant amount is. We haven't seen it. We have no idea. But as soon as we get that information consolidated, reviewed, then of course we'll present that to you all. But what I'm hearing is that it's okay to move forward with the motion. Maybe I'll try to come up with some, this is the hardest part, coming up with some words to like make a motion. Maybe it's about agreement that these three applications could receive funding, and that there could be requirement of revisiting Hood River once all applications are received and considered. That's a whole lot of words, but
Sorry, Ab, this is Shannon.
Please.
One other thought is to say, right, to shoot, what I was thinking just flew out of my head. Right, that you're moving, whatever the motion was, right, moving these three forward, sort of again with the caveat that there could be reconsideration of the funding in the county based on this other applicant coming forward.
I just transcribed what you said and put it in the chat, or dictated, no, transcribed. So that looks okay. Perhaps that's some language to use. Lakeisha?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're voting on the whole county and something is missing, I'm just not understanding on voted on the whole county and we still have a missing application.
Yeah, because I think what we want to do is hear from you all, whether or not you affirm that these three applicants look good, knowing there could be tweaks in the bottom line or in the dollar, and that will be revisited. If that ends up being the case, that there would be an additional provider in Hood River County. Does that make sense to people? Zeb says yes. Any other questions about that? Does that feel okay enough? I got a heart from Sabrina. Thumbs up from Linda. Okay. It's hard when I can't see your face. So a thumbs up from Ron. Awesome. Yeah, okay enough. Exactly. Sometimes the barometer is whether it's okay enough or you have heartburn. So if there's any heartburn, that's what I think we should be talking about, or y'all should be considering and talking about. Carly, do you by any chance have a magic wand to make a motion read something like that I put in the chat?
I copied and pasted. I'm trying to wordsmith a little bit more. Right now it's I move to move 3
Okay.
applicants forward.
Well, Kathy and Dharma are putting great content in the
There
chat.
we go.
That I just want to
So
make
base,
I
so
wanna-
basically, just before I make the motion, just want a clear understanding. So we're putting these 3 organizations in a pending pile, basically. And then after consideration of all the other applications, then see where they can get fit into for services and funding, right?
I think it's more of a conditional approval that it looks good, but we need to consider some additional data that might come through that would impact the bottom line of these applications and the award amounts.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Here's an example motion if someone would like to yes or no that.
I make the motion to move the approved current 3 applicants with the caveat that there will be reconsideration of funding based on additional applicants.
Ron will second.
All right, thank you. It's
Okay.
time for roll call vote.
One moment.
Sorry, so sorry. There was already a motion on the table that didn't get voted on.
So we have to table that motion, or
Yeah.
I think Onisha has to do it.
So I table the first motion that I made.
Are we good to go?
Yeah, I think you're good to go.
Okay. Did Amy come in? I don't think so. Okay. Carlos, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Caroline?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Hubert? Maybe in that meeting he was talking about. Hunter?
Yes.
Jackie? Don't think she showed up. Keisha?
Yes.
Leticia?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Melinda?
Yes.
Meredith? Morgan? I don't think she came. Nicole?
Yes.
Onisha?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Zeb, or Sabrina, sorry.
Yes.
And Zeb.
Yes.
That passes.
Y'all just approved-ish an application for a county. That's 35 to go. That's great.
Yay.
Yay. So just take a minute to celebrate that, right?
Right.
Here, I can make the little, yay, little party hats. That's awesome. Thank you for being such a great team, and I hope we get to make a lot more votes together again before the end of January. So I thank you for that, and I believe
I do want to say that something needs to happen in our process that folks are able to get information prior to the meeting. Because there were a lot of questions about the proposals, the recommendations, and as people were asking questions, it was hard for people to get the answers to the questions they were asking. So I think Onisha's recommendation that some information be sent out regarding, I don't know how that would look, but I think it would behoove us relative to knowing what the recommendations are prior to the meeting.
So the review panel, right, we're meeting and as soon as those recommendations are made, we want to put it in front of you all immediately. And I'm wondering if sending out the applications, like the budget and the narrative to you all would be welcome or cumbersome, or if you don't want to read it, you don't have to read it.
That did go out yesterday.
Well, all three applications.
Yeah.
I guess my point being that it would behoove the members of the council to read through that material prior to our review process here, because people would have the answers to the questions and we'd be able to have a more efficient conversation.
Okay, I apologize. I don't receive your emails, so I didn't know they go out. Thank you, Carly. Thank you. Zeb.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's possible um, for people on the council to have the project scope and the fiscal technical narrative. Project scope is 6 pages. Fiscal technical narrative is I can't remember if it's like 4 pages or something. It's not that long. At least they have access if they had questions. Anyway, just thought.
Yeah, it requires a lot of screens, but yeah, it's possible. Sabrina.
Yeah, I'm not a reviewer this time, but I did receive the email from Carly. It was pretty late in the day, so that amongst all my other work and trying to look at it, I did go and download the applications and try to pop one open at a time, which was kind of cumbersome. But in addition to that, I didn't know what I was looking at. Excel document sheet, not like the Excel document sheet like we used to use way back when we were actually grading the application. And so, and then so I called Carly and I explained, like, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at or what I'm supposed to be looking for. And then so I watched the video that you sent out as well, thinking that I was going to answer some of the questions. And so I still didn't know what I was looking at. And so my suggestion was maybe we could spend like 10 minutes to be like, hey, when you pop this open, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is this. Because when you pop up one file, then it opens another file, and then you have to singly go through there and then go back and go through there and then go back through back. And I understand, but this one's a pretty small county, but if we want to have good conversations, and I don't mind being a part or watching, I mean, the subcommittees, but I also didn't know when those were airing. And so if we can get some kind of notification so that way we can have some meats and potatoes conversation, I would like to also be able to watch that ahead of time.
Great. Yep, Carly's going to send out that information. It's also on the OAC website as review panel meetings, and all the information is there. Ron, go ahead, and I've got.
I was just going to reiterate what Zeb said, which is the project scope and the fiscal narrative and the Excel spreadsheet with the budget. Those 3 things are what folks should be looking at.
Yes, that's right. And I just wanted to share, just for specifics, attachment B. So it's ATTB is the budget. And that's what I was opening up and just reflecting on, the cost of the harm reduction, for example. And then you'll read the proposal, which is, I think, is proposed overview. And then, the fiscal technical. So there are a lot of documents in there, but not a lot that actually pertain to what the provider is proposing. And if anybody has questions, let me know or let Carly know, and we can help you walk through those massive files, because I know there's a lot of documents in each of those folders, and every time you open a folder, there's sometimes just like it's a never ending rabbit hole of folders. Carly or Shannon, were you going to add something?
Yeah, this is Shannon. So the review panel meetings, right, are happening as public meetings. So there isn't any sort of public meetings issue with additional OAC members joining. Just want to, caution folks again, not to have side conversations between yourselves outside of a public meeting about applications, because again, that runs into public meetings issues.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, we find ourselves in a very difficult position right now. The reviewers have put a lot of work. I'm one of the reviewers in it right now. We had our first meeting yesterday. That was 2 hours. There was a lot of great discussion. Our hope for yesterday was to complete 5 counties. That was what our lofty goal was, and we were able to complete 1 county. As we've all known with this process, things come up that we're not expected, just like we experienced kind of last time. So we find ourselves in a position where we want to provide the most, the council, we need your voice for sure. And then we also got like the timeline consideration, right? So people are going to have to read the project scopes before these meetings. They're going to have to watch the reviewers' meetings to be caught up on this stuff, because, I mean, like I said, we were hoping to do 5 yesterday, and we got 1 with a lot of hard work. So this process is going to take a lot longer than I think that we might have thought. We're just going to be really prepped in our stuff, but we need your voices from the Oversight and Accountability Council. Absolutely. So I just want to say that.
Awesome. And thank you, Zeb. I'm seeing a lot of you. So we're in these waters together. I also want to let folks know before Sabrina takes the mic that our next meeting today is to plan for 5 review panel meetings next week. So we need to get through them. So there's particularly big thank yous to those of you who reviewed applications and got them back in a timely manner, because we need to receive that information, consolidate it, organize it, so then it is represented back to the review panel in a way that's digestible. And that is not an easy task. Sabrina.
Yeah, I'm sorry to monopolize all the time, but I was wondering if somebody could put in the chat the 3 documents we should be looking for when we receive those files prior to the vote. Please and thank you.
Yeah, actually, let's see. Could that be either Kathy or Jason? Could you just do a quick kind of document title and put that in the chat for everybody? That would be really helpful. I was just trying to do that. And so Linda's question about whether just those applications, those specific documents can be pulled out. That might be, thank you, Kathy, that might be possible. I think that might be possible, but I just want to make sure that we do get you all of the materials as well. And if folks have challenges opening them or you're not seeing documents, please reach out to us. And then what we can do is make sure that you have the specific documents you need to come into these meetings well informed. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, so there's nothing else about the RFGA DTRSF. I wanted to give an update that the application for the Oversight and Accountability Council went live last week. And like magic, Kathy just put it in the chat. It is open until, I believe, Sunday. We wanted to have it open for a couple of weeks, but also be able during the holidays to keep moving and receiving and processing applications. So please share it far and wide in your networks. We would love to have a great pool of folks to be able to select from and use their expertise in this important work ahead of us. Otherwise, the other update from OHA is, well, at least from the Measure 110 team, we are RFGA all the time, and just making sure that current grantees are working to close out this cycle of grants in a thoughtful and appropriate and good way, while we are also considering these applications for the next round moving forward. So we have our review panel again tomorrow morning, and we will jump right into the hard numbers, because I think we have a cadence and we can just kind of go to the immediate hard work. We don't need an orientation anymore. So we're just going to dive right in the morning, and hopefully we will have some more applications and approvals for your all consideration next week. I will not be in next week, so thank you in advance for your patience and grace. And Carly will be in contact with the materials that will be on deck for you to approve as they come through next week. Carly, is there anything else? Shannon? No? Zeb?
I'm sorry to be talking so much, guys. I do have a question when it comes to the Measure 110 email. Are people still able to, if they have concerns or complaints about burn organizations, able to email that Measure 110 email and state those? And then are those being followed up on? I know you guys are extremely busy with the grant process. I just kind of want to know if that is still happening.
I cut out. Are you talking about the public comment, the inbox?
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, sorry. No, it was about the Measure 110 email where people can submit concerns or complaints
Yes.
about, yes,
Yes.
there.
We keep track of all of those, and after 4002 passed, we're not getting very many emails. There's a quarterly report that goes out to the tri-chairs with categories, and we save all of the emails and they're ready if y'all ever request them. But as of today, the last email we received was at the beginning of November, and that was just about these panel reviews.
All
But
right.
yes, to answer your question, we still have that inbox open for public comment. We save every single email and send a quarterly report to the tri-chairs.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I just had something in my head that popped out. Dang it. See if I can remember it. Oh, if a member of the OAC council gets a complaint from community members or organizations, do we direct those organizations to contact that Measure 110 line? Or if they don't feel comfortable with that, do we email that box?
That's Kathy saying no. Kathy?
So there's a couple different things that we're talking about. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yep, we can. Thank you.
I went to my headset. There is the comment and complaint form that people can fill out. Anybody from the public, burn or burn against burn, whatever it is, that you can click on the link that I shared, and that is a place to put a comment or a complaint. And that's separate from a public comment or the council itself. That is what Carly was talking about. And I don't know if that's an email or what that is, Carly. So there's public comment, and then there's the comment and complaint form.
And just for clarification, yeah, I wasn't talking about public comment. I was talking about the complaint.
Okay. Yeah, that's still going, and we do get some in. I get notified immediately when there's one that's been submitted, and the team knows I deal with them pretty quickly.
And I will just add, as someone who's new to this process and work, we in the Measure 110 team are really thoughtful about contract compliance and really what our role is in ensuring that the funds are being used for what you all said the funds needed to be used for. And if there are other challenges or concerns about a provider, perhaps those are, through the Bureau of Labor and Industries or sort of like other processes. So we are very clear about the use of DTRSF funds, your decision of how to spend them, ensure that is happening in a right and ethical and legal way. So if there's any follow-up that someone doesn't feel like their concerns are being met, then we would make sure to refer folks to other resources to ensure some follow through there. Okay. Sabrina, your hand was up a minute ago. Did you have something before we close?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was understanding what Zeb was talking about, if he was talking about complaints or the public comment. And I think you guys kind of handled that. But my next question is, what if people, is there a phone number somebody can contact if they're not able to get on the internet to file a complaint, online? And the reason why I'm asking is because we work with a lot of different people, and people are walking in, they're like, I want to make a complaint. I don't know how, I don't have a computer, I can't do this. I just always say, hey, here's the email address, and to kind of like leave them to figure it out on their own. But I don't know if I'm doing my due diligence in directing or making sure that they know who to contact. And so I just give them that and just hope for the best.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if we have like a public regular phone number. I mean, I'm happy to give out my cell phone number if people want to just call me directly. I mean, I'm a civil servant and happy to make myself available, but because we're not in the office, we don't have like a main line, Here, I'll just put my phone number in the chat, please. Anyone can hold on to that. I don't even have it memorized yet. Oops. Great. There you go. So that was the end of the OHA updates. And so that means I pass it back to Onisha.
Yep. So if nobody has any more questions or comments, we can close the meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.